All right, everybody, it is time for Red Rain 165 on our fourth Victory Monday in a row. Let's welcome in our host once again, Walter Mitchell.
Thank you, Kyle. Little Rock Ledbetter. Once again, he's wearing his streak University of Arizona sweatshirt. We do not want him to take it off during this streak. Oh, he gets a week off because of the bye week. But man, what a game! And before we get started, want to pay tribute to our veterans across the country and those who've fought so bravely for our freedoms, and for those who are currently serving. Um, what a debt of gratitude we owe to you on this day in particular. And of course, as Cardinal fans, we will always think of Pat Tillman on this day. I think I read he would have been 48 years old, probably still playing. But what a story! What an epic profile in unselfishness and in Call of Duty that Pat Tillman um, gave to all of us and gave most importantly to our nation. So to all the veterans out there, bless you. And thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all that you do to protect us and to protect our liberties and give us the quality of life that we've been so blessed to have. So happy Veterans Day to all the veterans. Um, and including my dad, who's fought in the Pacific in World War II. Bless you, Dad. Hope you're having a great day in heaven today. And thanks so much for your service and for being such a great father. So um, now back to the game. Wow. I tweeted out that after this brilliant 31-6 win by the Cardinals in a game that many of us were nervous about because of how well the Jets played on Thursday Night Football the week previous against the Texans, who took the Lions down to the wire yesterday. And that was a quality win for the Jets. And so we were a little leery coming in, but man, from the get-go, the Cardinals came ready to play. And my goodness, I just want to point out before we start that at the beginning of this season, here were PFF's rankings of the most talented rosters in the NFL. They had the 49ers first. Of course, we had a nice win in Santa Clara, and the Jets fourth. And we know their roster is so talented, and everyone's saying this is a bad Jets team. Well, not for talent or lack of talent. I'll tell you, they are extremely talented, but they've had their share of dysfunction in the organization, and they've had a really rough season. And the Cardinals probably dashed any trace of playoff hopes the Jets had yesterday in commanding fashion. Incredible. We'll get to other rankings. The Cardinals were originally ranked 28th of the best rosters, but Washington was 27th. So this is a great thing about the NFL is that, I mean, Houston last year was ranked practically last, and they went from worst to first in their division and won a couple games in the playoffs. I mean, this is the wonderful thing about the NFL is that from year to year, you never know. And it's so often a case because, we're dealing with a game where you're bound to have attrition due to injuries and whatever else. So it comes down a lot to how well the players are prepared and coached and how they cohere And our Cardinals have come together in all three phases these last few weeks in ways that I didn't imagine they could. And I have to, give a shout out to the members on Revenge of the Birds who, had this feeling, had this sense that Cardinals were going to break through this year in some form or fashion. And if they're, we're going to find out what they're made of. And, to date, to be 6-4, heading into the bye week, a half game up in our division and with a tiebreaker so far, it's just stunning. And to watch what we've watched the last couple of weeks has been an utter treat. I mean, this morning, every week I've been doing a highlight thread of all the big plays. And, this morning I probably could have added 10 more highlights to what I already added, which took me over an hour to happily put together. And it was one big highlight play after the next. And Kyle is, as always, in his fantastic way, is queuing up some of the highlights here. Let's just get right to them. And we want to try to point out some things with each highlight play that we, when we first saw the play, we might not have recognized. But on this play, I want you to, on this Connor pass play, watch the guard make the key block. Here we go. Ba-boom. Look at that. Oh, and I thought for sure he was in. That was just, sometimes these replays are just a little too, too nitpicky. I think the ball crossed that plane. There's no doubt in my mind. But they said no. It was, and then they don't put it on the 1 inch line either. He was no way in the half-yard line. But just the same, so look at, actually, it's not the guard, it's Froholt, the center.
Yeah, Froholt here, and then Cologne here is making the block.
And Cologne, correct. So it is the guard and the center. What a perfectly executed and faked. Look at Dortch going to the right. Kyler sells the fake by looking in that direction, turns. Connor slips underneath the edge block by PJJ or around it. Which way does he go? Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, around it, slips around it. Ba-boom. Passing lane is there. And there's your first block by Froholt, who's come all the way across. And here's your look at the second block.
I think that's by Cologne. Yeah.
I mean, this is how you win football games, people. You block and you run. And it was amazing how many tackles the Cardinals just threw off by the Jets. I mean, the Jets are going to have to look at their tape and go, what the frick?
You were talking about things.
To go back to the drawing board and teach tackling again.
You were talking about things we didn't notice the first time, and it's not till you see a slow motion replay you recognize it. That Dortch fake has 23 looking there and 44 looking there at that point. They're supposed to be the people who are dropping down. You've got this guy, I think, is probably a spy on the quarterback, but you've got Marvin one-on-one there, 2 linebackers, Ian Dortch. Right. They both move that way, and then when you reverse it the other way, completely out of position. I think 44 especially, who's trying to get back into the play, right? I mean, he might be blocked by our faces, but on the far right side of the screen, 44 is trying to get back into that play, and he's already messed up.
I mean, when you look at Tristan Cologne, his back is to the pass side. Stop right there. I mean, look at how quickly he go back a little bit. Look, his back's to us. And the flow is they pull the guard, Evan Brown, who, by the way, is playing outstanding football. The whole line is. I mean, and notice how quickly and what a perfect pursuit angle Tristan Colon takes to be able to seal off that block coming, this block. Boom. I mean, wow.
And make sure not to commit a block in the back.
Right, exactly. He squared up on him perfectly. All right. So now we're on the 1-inch line, and 2 plays later, we get Connor on the
We have
touchdown.
Connor putting that in. I didn't pull up that highlight, but let me
Okay.
go
Well,
grab
on
it real
that
quick.
play, let me say that the key block on the Connor touchdown, you probably noticed, was PJJ taking on a down block, taking his man for a sleigh ride. I mean, he just wiped out the tackle in there, which is why James Conner could walk right in. It was a, uncontested run right up the B gap. Look at this block, 70. Oh my gosh. Boy, are these guys balling. And if you haven't seen Paris Johnson Jr.'s pep talk before the game, I posted it as the first post on the thread at Revenge of the Birds. You got to go watch it. I mean, this guy is emerging as an alpha, and it's just fantastic. Look at the penetration right there. Ryman blocks out the Sauce. Sauce had a rough game. I mean, and look how far downfield Evan Brown is. Evan Brown, get off the ball. Look at how far down he is. Incredible. Look at, and then Paris Johnson gets the pancake. Oh my goodness. Finishes off with an IHOP special with extra syrup and butter. Oh my goodness. Let's run that back one more time, Kyle. Watch 70 from the left stackle spot. Boom, 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 boom. Sleigh ride. Boom, 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 boom. Oh my goodness. I think that's Kinlaw. Welcome back to the NFC West, Kinlaw. Oh my gosh. That is just blocks that dreams are made of. So,
Absolutely.
all right. So Cardinals grab a 7-0 lead, converting on their first drive of the day in like 4 plays. So, it's like, or 5 plays. It was just fantastic to get out to a 7-0 start. And now, so now they get the ball back. The Cardinals defense did a good job of holding the Jets to 3 points on their initial drive. It was like 11-12 play drive, but it stalled out. The Cardinals made some good key plays in the red zone, and they had to kick the field goal. So now look at this. Look at how they sell the fake dive to Connor, and how Kyler, look at his ball handling and his footwork. Look at that. Look at the depth he gets. And once he sees the corner, he knows he's got it, because they did not play contain on that. And the Jets were offsides to begin with. So, but look at the block that McBride makes to seal the edge. Right there. Good, Kyle. There you go. That is winning football. That is executing at a high, high level. Look at the rest of the line selling the play to the right. There we go. 14-3. Love it's now, 2-score game. Oh, gotta love it.
Yeah, a bunch of these
Look
Jets
at how,
get caught in no
look at
man's
how
land on
depth.
this play.
Look at the depth. And McBride's peeking back. He knows he's got it. The other thing was, look at the Jets edge guy take the bait, 95. Look at that. Okay. Whoop. That's for an edge guy that's like oh shit.
By the moment Kyler sealed the edge here, I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Jets that are in the tackle box at that
Correct.
point. That's 9 Jets. And there's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Cardinals. So 2 of these
Right.
Jets have been caught in no man's land. And at that point,
Correct.
you're essentially playing, 11 on 9 at that point.
Right. Sometimes in the goal line, you have to like sell out because it's so tough to defend everything. So I get that to a degree, and the Cardinals have been consistent in trying to pound the ball in with James Conner. So, but this is a 3rd and goal. It's a big play. It's not a 2nd and goal. It's a 3rd and goal, and it's a gutsy call and perfectly executed
It's
with the
also a
main
gutsy
block.
call because this is, I think, a 14 personnel package here. So
Right,
it's either Kyler's scoring it or Kyler's going down. There is no
right,
passing option on this play. It is a
right.
design for Kyler, and there is no second option.
If they did have an edge sitting on it, there's a chance Kyler wouldn't have been able to deke him out with that kind of depth.
They didn't need it.
McBride already knows. Look at him. All right, so now it's 14-6. The Cardinals give up a long drive again, but then are like they've been doing at home lately. They've been getting the key third and down stops in the red zone and forcing a field goal, and that's a win. So here the Cardinals get the ball back, and now it's 3rd and 7 from their 33-yard line. And here comes this dandy.
Trey McBride's
McBride,
going down. No, he's not.
look at that. Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely incredible play.
Uh,
Incredible. Look,
McBride's like, you ain't taking me down, Sauce.
you're throwing it short of
No
the
way.
sticks. You've got
Now,
hat on hat.
why Sauce Gardner didn't go for the legs here? It's a different art. There's decision makings that are separate winners from losers in a game. Now, Sauce Gardner is a very talented player. We know that. But his tackling's been an issue this year, and that's the reason why. Trying to tackle Trey McBride high is a terrible decision. And he made them pay. And, of course, another leaping tall buildings in a single bound. So, wow, just a stunner. And we convert because that play should have been dropped, and now it would have been, a still a 14-6 game.
There you go.
There it is. That's called a rack run after catch, rack deluxe. Typically, I don't like the team passing underneath the sticks on 3rd down. I think Tyler has a bad habit of doing that. But in this case, it works like a charm.
All right. So now we've got same drive. They're at the 22-yard line, 1st and 10. They've got 3 wide here, or there might be a 4th wide, 3 wide, running back in the backfield, 1st and 10. Kyler's going to take the snap and get crushed coming off the edge.
Now, talk about getting a facial. I mean, and I thank God the helmet came off because I think Kyler might have, thank goodness he wasn't hit in the back of the head, but I think that a helmet crashing to the ground there might have done some damage. He might have broken a nose or something. I mean, this is just brutal hit. But man, oh man, Kyler got up, he bounced up, he shook it off. The main thing is he didn't fumble the ball. That could have been a 14-13 game very quickly. At this point in the game, it's still a really tight game. He holds onto the ball. He has the wherewithal, and he gets up. And I'm thinking to myself, something feels different about Kyler in this game, and has for a while now. I was thinking to myself, Kyler in other years might have gotten a little, frazzled by that, which any of us would, in certain ways. But I just had a feeling that Kyler was just so dialed in. And so I said, watch, to myself, this is the confidence that's growing in me for Kyler. Because I just said, I think he'll see this as a challenge and he'll try to fight back hard from this. So now it's 1st and 10, but look at the sack. It's now going to be 2nd and 17? I mean, and now you're sort of back on the back edge of field goal territory. So let's cue up the next play. Man. So amazing to see Kyler playing ball and out like this. It's just so inspirational. And, Kyler's clearly back to where he was in 2021, early in the season. But we're now 10 games in. The level of his play was good for about 7 games, and then the injury happened, and we know what else happened. But this is Kyler getting stronger as the season goes on. But also, as I've been pointing out, this is the best physical shape we've seen Kyler in his pro career. It's the most invested he's been in a team. It took 6 years, but now Kyler is vindicating all the patient fans who believed in him and thought, he's gonna get there eventually. And kudos to them. I've had my serious doubts, particularly in light of some of the off-field stuff that in locker room and the firing coaching staffs and everything. But man, I mean, right now his QBR I think is number 2 in the league. I mean, I think you can make a strong case that Kyler Murray is a top 5 quarterback, which everybody said who believed in him said he could be. He just hadn't been. And now, I mean, the dude is balling. I mean, yesterday was a near perfect game. I mean, he threw an incomplete pass to Wilson on the first pass, and then from there, it was only one other incompletion in the game, and he set a Cardinals record, breaking Carson Palmer's 16 completions in a row by hitting 17 in a row. And, what a stunning performance to battle back the way Kyler did off of that hit and, taking a facial like that and helmet flying like that is just a boom. And he said after the game, I'm glad it happened because, it's like, I felt the challenge of coming back from it. And here's how he answered. What do we have for the next play?
Sorry, we just had it up a second ago. It was the Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah, I mean, whoa!
Touchdown.
I mean, this thing is a portrait of sheer beauty. I mean, if you see the ball in the air from the back of the end zone, I mean, tight spiral dropping in perfect time on the fade, which Marvin Harrison is made to order for. I mean, and look at the stand. Look at people going crazy. Look at the arms up in the air.
One-on-one, right side of the end zone. I don't know who that corner was for the
They did convert. Managed to convert to get out of that 2nd and 17.
Yep, they converted on the next play, and then on 1st and goal, Marvin
dropped
floater.
on time.
for a touchdown.
Reed's their best corner Sauce is, but Reed's having a great year. Jet
Yeah,
fans will attest.
by
I mean, Reed,
performance this year, Reed has been their best corner. Sauce is probably their most talented corner, but Reed's been
right?
better than Sauce
He
this year.
has. Reed's been really good, and that's why they have him on Marvin. But Marvin plays it perfectly. Just gets his hands in a position to get him up, and with his length and with that, dime being dropped in the bucket, boom, boom. That's his sixth TD of the season in 10 games. We'll take it. And Marvin had a good day. I mean, it wasn't just that. Early on, he made some good catches over the middle, and so this is a nice, unbelievably nice way to finish off that drive. We punched it in twice on the ground. Now to get a nice little fade TD out of MHJ, it was pretty cool.
And now you're looking at 3 touchdowns in the first 4 drives of the game, I want to say.
Yep. 3 for 3. 3 for 3.
3 for 3.
Yep.
All right.
And
next,
that put the Jets offense in a bind and a catch-up mode.
And now we're going to switch over to some defensive plays real quick from the Cardinals now that they've jumped out to a 21-6 lead. So this is right after the Marvin touchdown. It's the Jets' first possession. There's 3rd and 10. They've had a 0-yard run, an incomplete pass, and now they're set up at 3rd and long, which they show this graphic on the screen here. They're 3 for 5 in the game so far on 3rd down conversions. With this one, they're facing a 3rd and 10. Rodgers is in the shotgun. They're going 3 wide. I think that's a tight end lined up in the receiving position. Rodgers show blitz, drop out of the blitz, but it doesn't matter because they get nice little sack right there.
Jesse Luketa.
Look
at the bend underneath the tackle. Look how he squeezed under there. Watch this bend. Woo, 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 woo. We may not have all-stars back there, but these guys are balling. Last 2 weeks, they're coming. And, we'll see later on how the pass rush got to Rodgers in a couple other ways. But look at L.J. Collier there to try to finish it off. L.J. Collier's been playing better. This is what happens when you start getting on a roll. It's like when players want their share of the pie. And Luketa gets his right there with Collier finishing up on a 3rd down. And now it's a 3 and out, and you're up 21-6. It's awesome. It's absolutely awesome. Now, let's go back to the beginning of this play. And this is a nuanced look for the Cardinals. Now, pause. Notice how Davante Adams is in the slot right there. Yep. And notice how they don't have any defender lined up directly across from him, right? The closest defender is Garrett Williams, but he looks like straight lined up on the second slot, the second of the 3 trips to the left, right? So this is setting the bait because what they're Rodgers sees this and he's like, oh my gosh, Davante's uncovered. The problem for Rodgers was typically you run a hot call on a quick slant to Adams because look at the middle is wide open. They're threatening blitz here. So you typically do that because it's 3rd and 10 and you're back on your 30, you want to look for something more than that because if you don't get the rack off of it and convert, now you have to punt the ball. So, but watch the nifty trickery the Cardinals play. Who comes and takes him? Garrett Williams. Yep. Now Kaiser White
It's gonna.
obviously has been coached to drop back and play the middle. Okay. Now Rodgers is trying to look that way. There's second confusion, and the Cardinals get a coverage sack on a play that they didn't look like they were lined up to play sticky coverage. I mean, this is what, the last 2 weeks, this is where Nick Rallis has emerged as a play caller. He's disguising coverages. The point is, we're getting pressure now with a hodgepodge of players, all of whom are playing aggressively. And you're also now getting the kind of sticky coverage on the back end that was missing so often in their zones. So, this is where now I feel so encouraged to know the Cardinals have these packages and can dial up the kind of pressure they've been doing. Plus, the biggest thing for me is the sticky coverage and not making it an easy pitch and catch day for quarterbacks like they've been doing, like they did in Miami for 3.5 quarters for Tua, like they did for Jaden Daniels, like they did for Jared Goff. And if those days of leaky, porous, wide open receivers in zones are over for the Cardinals, wow, this is a really encouraging sign. And the fact that they have it in them is incredibly encouraging to me. I mean, that was my hesitation here, was like, how can we say JG is awesome when he's got his defense is ranked near the last in almost every category, except ironically defending the run. They've been really solid at doing that. Kyle, can you get the run statistics yesterday? I don't think, you got Breece Hall. If you could look those up, what the Cardinals did against the run, I don't think the Jets had 100 yards on the ground. Of course, getting a big lead helps.
They did not. Here are our stats from yesterday. 10 for 52 for Breece Hall, 7 for 27 for Braylon Allen. That's total 17 carries, 79 yards total for the New York Jets, which is a 4.6 average, which isn't bad, but the total being 79 yards is as good as you could ask for coming into the game, which I said last week at the end of our Bears podcast. I said the thing I'm most interested to see is Jets rushing attack against Cardinals rushing defense. And, you can live with 10 carries for 52 yards, even if some of those numbers come from, they couldn't run the ball at the end of the game because you're down 25 points for most of the second half. But you'll take those numbers and those averages, especially if the longest carry of the day is going to be 14 yards.
Correct.
Something I always do is I take away the longest carry and the shortest carry to kind of get a better average. And so for Breece Hall, you're looking at, I think he had a negative 2-yard run in there. So you're looking at 8 carries for 40 yards. You can live with that as an average during the day, even if it's 5 yards a carry, which is pretty good. 8 carries for 40 yards is something you can live with.
I think most of those 52 yards were on the Jets' first 2 series, where they had 23 plays, and they were really good between the 20s. So, yeah, I mean, come out of the game and giving up 79 yards in rushing. Of course, credit the Cardinals offense for turning this, for making the Jets have to throw the ball more than they probably would have wanted to. Because Breece Hall is one of the best running backs in the NFL. He is special. Plus, he's really good out of the backfield. And I think containing him to 431, 4 catches for 31 yards, was also a good stat for the Cardinals. He's really capable. He's a 100-yard receiver if you throw him enough. The way he can get open out of the backfield, he's pretty special.
I'm
A
really
lot of people
curious
may
to.
not know him that well. I'll tell you what, he is a special running back, all purpose, and he's got moves, and he's got tremendous rack ability.
I'm curious to see what the Pro Football Focus grades come out for the
Yeah,
Arizona Cardinals because of this one right here, which is, we're talking about Breece Hall and he was their second leading receiver, but for Davante Adams to have 13 targets and end up with 31 receiving yards, that
correct.
that is never just one corner to be able to do that. That's safeties dropping into coverage, that's
Yeah,
linebackers playing the middle of the field to go to target someone 13 times and for them to end up with only 31 receiving yards is
right.
an incredible day, incredible performance. If they're consistently throwing at that person and they're consistently not getting catches or yards after catch, that's
Right.
usually a group effort to put that together. So I'm curious what the Pro Football Focus grades will read because
Yeah,
I could not believe 13 targets for 31 yards for Davante Adams.
yeah. I mean, and look at Garrett Wilson and held him under 50 yards after that great game he had against the Texans. The Texans corners are dang good. So our young corners, we had that. Can you cue up that Brian Baldinger video I sent you? Because Baldy did a breakdown of our young corners, and boy, oh boy, they came to play again yesterday. I thought the pass interference was probably warranted early on. I think that in retrospect, the Cardinals can play a little less contact wise in that situation. I think it was Starling Thomas, the fifth, who got it. But the stickiness is there, and they did a nice job adjusting to the rest of the game and didn't get one called again. And so yeah, let's roll this. Do we have audio on that?
We can.
All right, well, here I can do it. There's Starling Thomas. Look at how he shadows. That's a trail technique shadow on Davante Adams. This is one of the reasons why he, did not have a big day, and it was hard to connect with him. So Thomas has done a tremendous recover here, and then he's in a position to make a play. He doesn't turn back his head, but he runs as fast as he can to stay on his hip or close to him as possible. And you might recall this Adams, by the time he catches the ball, is out of bounds. I mean, if you get beat on that kind of an effort, hats off to the Jets. This is all I've ever wanted. It's just the effort in covering people, because then that eventually that kind of effort's going to pay off. It's the wide open stuff or guys open by 5 feet or 3 yards that really bothers me. And the Cardinals in the last few weeks, and really, you know, starting with the fourth quarter of the Dolphins game, really started ratcheting down their coverage and making it tighter. That's just a win. Good job, Starling. Now, watch this one. This is so cool. Here's Adams again, and Budda Baker is right on his hip. This is Budda covering now. People who say Budda stinks in coverage, Budda does not stink in man coverage. Now, he's had a hard time covering Kittle, who's like 6 inches taller. But if you put him on a receiver in the intermediate area, we saw that against Cooper Kupp. We saw Budda do that. This is why they're using Budda in the right proper ways now, too. And look at the way Budda is balling. And by the way, I mean, Rabbit, it's going to be a huge decision for the coaches. Rabbit is the center fielder we've been lacking. And look at the plays he makes. Look at this. He takes the crosser in Adams, and look at this. He gets over the top, does not grab him, does not get called, times it perfectly. And look at that. I mean, this is exactly what I've been hoping for all along, is take these young corners and play pesky with them. They get beat from time to time, they get beat. But as long as they're pesky and running hard, look at this recovery from Starling Thomas on this play. Look at the recovery. I mean, Adams has him beat. Or no, this is who is this?
It's the young guy who had a touchdown the other week. I can't remember what his name is now.
Right. Yep. So he's got him. Now look at how Starling Thomas recovers and makes up ground here. See, this is what you're taught. This is how you play good defenses. So much of defensive back play is recovering, because you're going to get beat at times, but can you recover and get back to the ball, which is exactly what Starling Thomas is able to do here. And he doesn't this time get called for pass interference because he plays it straight up. Go ahead.
Yeah, Xavier Gipson is the receiver here, and he's got
Xavier Gipson. Yeah.
15 yards ago, he's got about 3 yards of separation, which if you'll see, throw comes out a little late, recovery.
Starling even turns his head around, which is huge for him. If he starts doing that, he's going to get picks because he's in position to make plays. But he's a young corner in his second year, learning the ropes. But that is a fantastic recovery play.
Let's see how many yards of separation he has right there.
Yeah.
3 yards. Yeah, it's about
now Gibson has to slow down a little bit, but still. I mean, he's got Aaron Rodgers as quarterback.
Yeah, Rodgers probably should have got the ball out right about there is when Rodgers should have let go of the ball. He doesn't let go of the ball till about there.
Except that right where you said there, Gibson is covered hat on hat.
Well, right about there.
Right. If you're looking at that from the quarterback's position, you're not going, oh, wow, he's open. But Rodgers did hang in there and see, oh, here he goes. But by then, it's too late.
Yeah, he doesn't throw it till about here is when he makes up his mind, which is definitely too late because we said he had about 3.5 yards at his furthest, and now you've got 1, 2, maybe 2.5 yards of separation. So Starling's already recovered, 40% of the way there, and now Rodgers is deciding to get it out.
Yep.
And it's a little underthrown.
I mean, the early pass interference on Murphy Bunting was so unnecessary. And he's just lost, Murphy Bunting. I'm sorry. You're just not playing smart football. And, I mean, look at this play.
You got Max Melton one-on-one.
Remember who made this play last week in the end zone? I mean, this is Garrett Wilson. No one-hander today, baby. And this Max Melton. This is Mad Max. Melton's got the feet, gang. He's got the feet. I mean, so does Garrett. So does Starling. So does I like K-Trell's feet a lot. We've got K-Trell. And And boy, do I love Dadrion Taylor-Demerson's feet. That dude can move on a dime.
What's most
And
impressive about this last one is that this is exactly what the Jets want to do. They've got Adams in the slot here. He's going to
yeah,
break out.
right,
Buddha's got to commit to Devontae in the slot because you're
right.
worried about that play, and they get
You got it.
perfect one-on-one coverage. Max Melton versus
Yeah,
Garrett Wilson. That's exactly what you're trying to do if you're the Jets,
yeah,
and it doesn't matter because Melton's able to stick to Garrett Wilson, which is the thing the Cardinals have been lacking, I would say, the entire time that we've been doing this podcast. For 4 years, the Cardinals have not had that corner who can play in the slot and go outside, depending on circumstance. And Max Melton's obviously done a bit of both this year. And on that play, he's guarding one of the better outside receivers in the NFL one on
right,
one and gets a
right.
stand.
Yeah, we got guys who can cover, and it's good for the coaches that they're showing confidence in these kids. They're going to get beat from time to time. You got to be all corners too. But man, and the great part is they had the two penalties early, and then corrected it and played more straight up and didn't get called for grabbing or hooking or all those things. They're just playing for the ball and they're getting deflections. You guys heard me all year talk about in even preseason, we're not getting to the football. And you heard me week after week after week. I mean, deflections are a sign of pressure and of being around the ball. And, it's just great that the Cardinals now are making plays on the ball. How about the interception almost from Garrett Williams over the middle? That was an awesome play. And I'm not sure he really, he sort of got there early, but I don't think it knocked the receiver out of anything. I think Garrett Williams was going for the ball, which you're entitled to do. That was a play that could have gone either way. And look at the play he made over the middle, and he had the interception on. He is just playing fantastic football, and so are the other young bucks in that secondary. Now you add Dadrion Taylor-Demerson to that mix. I mean, his instincts are from the center field position are impeccable, and you haven't seen this a lot yet, but you will eventually. The dude can cover from the slot. I mean, we play multiple slots. So we play the Rams again. They have Cup and Nakua. I'd put him on Nakua. I'd put him on Nakua all day. Dude can play the slot. But we also have, Max can play the slot now. Williams plays the slot as well as anyone. I think Starling probably could. I think K-Trell is made for the slot. So, and we're not hardly getting any snaps for K-Trell, but I hope that eventually he gets more time because he's a baller, and he'll come up and hit you. So, wow. Let's go to the closeout plays
Yep.
on off.
And the last thing I'll add about the defense, I'm just looking up the
Yeah,
stat real quick, is that when the Washington game was finished, so at that point the Cardinals were 1-3. Their defense, according to DVOA, was ranked 29th in the league, and I believe they had the 30th ranked scoring defense.
right.
After this week, they're now 18th in the league in DVOA team defense. I haven't been able to find their scoring defense, but I would assume it's top 20 now, given that they've just gone
It is.
15 points against the Chargers, 27
Yeah,
against Miami, sure, but 9 points against the Bears, 6
yeah.
points against the Jets.
In fact, I was looking this morning. It's the lowest in the NFC West at 22.0. I mean, this is awesome. And, I'm really, really intrigued by how Nick Rallis is starting to figure this out. And where once I, wanted a mentor for him, hey, if he's got stuff like this figured out, I don't need a mentor. But you did when you were watching guys getting wide open and all the time and easy throws and catches and and long drives down, and scoring drives. That was really frustrating. But if that's more of a thing of the past, and what Rallis is doing now, you know, I'm I'm on the bandwagon for this. This is great stuff.
And it's been so remarkable because when things started to turn is when players started going down and they had to start doing more rotations. You would expect that if your
Yeah,
talented players, your Sean Murphy Buntings, your Bilal Nichols, your Dennis Gardex, obviously they didn't have BJ or
right.
Darius Robinson all season, but you would expect if these key players who have been playing major snaps all season go down, that things would get tougher for the defense. And now you see this was the same thing I talked about last week, is you're seeing names you hadn't seen before making an impact. Xavier Thomas last 2 weeks has made an impact. Lucetta this week is making an
Right.
impact. You mentioned the Rabbit. He goes from DNP to being at the top of the box score each week now. It's interesting
Right.
to see different names. We have a highlight too coming up of Baron Browning too, which is
Let's do
obviously
that.
his first
Let's show
game.
that now. Yeah.
And it's
His
just
spin move and then the chase down. This is why you love having speed off the edge, gang. And I wrote about Browning all week saying I love this pick because of the speed he brings. Look at the chase down by Xavier. Xavier's coming on, boy. Last 2 weeks. Look at him turn that corner.
then Browning right there, spin move, pushes Rogers out of the pocket. You've
That's
got
it.
Thomas coming in off the right side.
Correct.
Now here comes Thomas with the chase down right there. Fumble,
Boom.
recovered.
Great recovery. Could have been a scoop up and go, possibly, but I'm glad they just fell on it right there.
And on this play, look at the coverages. Because
Yeah,
the Cardinals are only rushing with 4, and that's the thing that also has been great,
right.
even going back to the Miami game. Ability to rush
Yes.
with 4 is huge. It's
How he's getting
huge.
it done with that, although he is blitzing more. That's the other thing, too, I really love. We'll see it on Budda, the next one.
Yeah, but the nice thing about that too is it's not blitzing on, 3rd and
Right,
10, or it's not having to blitz on, 3rd and 5 because we don't think that we
right,
can get a stop on these plays. They're blitzing 4 sacks
right.
and blitzing on timely downs.
Good recovery by Kaiser White. Kaiser White is playing downhill more to the football. He's starting to do his. This is the thing. It's so encouraging. Guys are really starting to step up and do their jobs, do their parts, which they're coached to do. Loved it when Gannon was asked at halftime, "How are you going to sustain this?" He said, "Well, we're going to because we train the players to keep the pedal on the metal." And I love that, and these past few games, that has been the absolute truth. The Cardinals are playing 60-minute football now, whereas you couldn't say that earlier games, and now we can, and it's so exciting. I mean, playing 60 minutes of hard football and stingy on defense and explosive on offense. It's a great formula, and I called it on Twitter. The offense is our Desert Storm, our defense is our Desert Swarm, and our special teams are our Desert Charm. I mean, Chad Ryland is a charm. I mean, Blake Gilligan is a charm. Greg Dortch is a charm. I mean, we have a charm bracelet of these guys. I mean, they are fun to watch, do an outstanding job. So, is this the Budda sack?
Yep, one more play here. So 3rd and
Okay.
6 for
Now,
the
watch
Jets.
this blitz. How many are they sending? You
1,
got
2,
Budda
3,
and
4, 5, 6, 7.
see this? And man coverage across. And you got Xavier Thomas who sets this up because they're worried about him now. And look at that. Look at Kaiser White and Collins right there to try to clean up. This is just called pinning your ears back and sending your all pro.
Look
And
at the hit.
having a clean shot from the corner.
Look at the hit Mac Wilson levels on the running back here, too. Watch right here. Boom. Pushes the running back into the quarterback.
Yep.
Rodgers can't go anywhere.
I think that's Kaiser White, actually.
Might have been Kaiser right there.
Yeah. Yep.
Boom.
Oh, just got to love it. And it's on a 3rd and 6. So by this point in the game, I think that Nick Rallis was saying, I'm so confident in the way we're covering guys, I can dial this one up. And the more comfortable he gets dialing up pressure, because with our defense, at times you need to manufacture it. And Rallis is getting it done last 2 weeks doing that. And I saw an interview with Rob Rodriguez, the outside linebackers coach, the edge rusher coach, who's saying these guys are starting to get it. They're really hungry and they're really aggressive. So we saw Luqueta getting after. We saw Xavier Thomas getting after. We saw Baron Browning making an impact play there. Victor Dimukeje has had his good moments. You got Zaven Collins, who had 2 sacks the week before. He's had his moments. Making plays. It's impressive. All right. So there's what we got pressure-wise, and there's what now. This is mint. Watch
One last play here.
Yeah. I mean, this is fake the run. Look at the block by Higgy Bear. Higgy Bear with the big block. How about that pass catch by Higgy Bear where he got stoned and bounced off it and kept trying to go? Our Cardinals are playing to the whistle like I've rarely seen an entire team play. I got to give Drew Petzing and the Cardinals coaches, I mean, they are. How about Trey Benson fighting for all those extra yards yesterday? That was Trey Benson's best game as a pro. I think he led the team in rushing. Giving Connor a little break here and there. Look at that inside out move Kyler puts on. And you got the block on the perimeter. Good boy, Marvin, taking out Sauce. Marvin taking out the sauce. And look at Kyler. Icing on the cake. And then we got to see Clayton too. And mop-up duty. Love it. And, Benson, 62 yards, 6.2. How about that? DeMercado again, 7.3. 147 yards, 4.6. That's a good day of rushing. And look at our passing. Can we scroll down? 266. 22 of 24 targets from Kyler. Unbelievable.
And who ends up being the leading receiver? James Conner. 5 targets, 5 catches, 80 yards.
What a weapon. So combined, he was over 100 yards.
Mm-hmm.
Which doesn't matter. He had 100 yards. In my estimation, that's a 100-yard game. That's 113 yards.
113 yards on 17 touches, which comes out to roughly about 6.6 yards per touch or 6.7 yards per touch.
Can't argue with it. Can't. And Wilson, Michael Wilson, remember Castaway?
Mm-hmm.
Wilson
Wilson
got lost on that first pass. They missed him, but he came back and had some nice receptions there. 3 of them. Gotta love that kid. He's a real talent way in the making as well. Now these guys are growing together, and I loved what Kyler said after the. Let's go to the defense. Let's see the defensive stats. There he is, top of the list, Budda Baker. 6 solo. What a line. 1 sack. 3 tackles for loss. 1 pass defense. 1 quarterback hit. What a day at the office for Budda Baker. And Garrett Williams, so impressive. 6 solo tackles. Look at the Rabbit in his first NFL start. I'll be interested to see his PFF grade. He's had the highest grade on the team in limited action now. But look at this line. And look at the 2 pass defense. And look at how we had 6. And look at over at the Jets side. How many pass defenses did they and their good corners have? 0. This is what used to be the other way around, where we're not getting any and the other team. It's just so encouraging that they've flipped the script on this. And, I mean, wow.
I mean, look at all the different names you're seeing on here that you're not used to. Stills having a soloed tackle in there. He's
balling. Stills, he's balling.
Lucetta with a sack in there.
Max I Melton. Saw Lopez on a great stop. I mean, these guys are holding up pretty well. I mean, they averaged 4.6 yards rush, but they had only 77 yards rushing, 79 or whatever. Win. That's a win.
Yeah, and even beyond that, we don't see Baron Browning in here because he doesn't record a play. But remember, on the Xavier Thomas sack fumble,
right.
We saw the tape. He's in there spin move on the left tackle, forcing Rodgers out of the pocket, which leads to Thomas's strip
he gets credit for pressure. He certainly gets that. And that's on that big play. That's what we needed from him. I mean, now we have a bye week and they'll integrate him more into the defense. And the Cardinal coaches see him as a 3-down edge because he's so athletic and he's good against the run too. He's a great chaser. I mean, he's got the speed. He's got a raw score. We talked about this last week of like 9.8 as an athlete. That is elite. So I love the move, and I'm glad he's a Cardinal, and I think it's really smart to add an athlete of that caliber. And then you saw Gannon hugging with our old friend Hassan Reddick after the game. Looked like a mutual love fest between the two of them. And I think, and then one fan posted that that Hassan came over after the game to them in the stands and had a quick conversation about how he'd, if it's in God's will, he knows he's loved by the Cardinal Bird Gang and would love to come back next year. And Cardinals have the third most cap space in the league at 111 million, I believe it is. So, that's a guy who could make a ton of sense. I'd love to see them re-sign Baron Browning and put him as part of that mix. But we got young guys there, with B.J. Ojulari. Might take him a year to get back, but at some point next season, he's probably going to be playing. So, and he was doing great up until, he got injured. So, you got that going, and Collins is re-signed. And I was thinking about this defense. The guys that are the guys that are free agents are Kaiser White, and he's starting to play the position much more consistently and accountably, which is really good. That was the thing with White. Good game, not so good game, good game, not so good game. Now he's stacking good games like the Cardinals and Mac Wilson they have for 2 more years. I mean, they got a lot of guys under contract. They got all these young corners. And, of course, Budda is the highlight free agent. And he is the heart and soul of our team. And I think what's really exciting for me is Monty knows it now and JG knows it now. And I don't think they're letting Budda out of the building. And that really excites me because, wow, what a baller that young man is. And, and he was saying, it's 10 games. He's to 100 tackles and he's second in the NFL. That's some kind of special. I don't want to hear but he plays a non-premier. That's such a bullshit line. Okay, if you lead your team in tackles, I don't care where you're freaking playing. I mean, and if you're top 3 in the NFL, in fact, he's the top D-back over the last 5 years in tackles. So, these old wives' tales of like, you don't draft a running back in the first round and you don't, bullshit. All right, cut the shit. I mean, that's silly. I mean, you do when the guy's an ultimate game changer, like Christian McCaffrey. Didn't, the Niners win with him in the lineup consistently. I mean, they've changed organizations since he arrived. No, they didn't spend a first-round draft pick on him. And they kept drafting quarterbacks and then got bailed out by a 7th rounder. I mean, incredible. But Budda Baker is a difference maker, and he is a bona fide alpha leader. He and James Conner, that's the other thing, is James Conner should retire a Cardinal. We got to make sure of that.
I think you undersold a second ago just how remarkable it is that he is second in the NFL in tackles, because we get used to Budda being at the top of the tackles list year after year. I just pulled up the list real quick here. I'm going to share it real quick because notice something about the other positions on this list here. Linebacker, safety, linebacker.
Right.
Also, we have Nick Cross with the Colts, but in the top 18, it's all middle linebackers and Budda Baker, which is crazy to play that position. I know Budda moves from linebacker to safety and things like that, but to have someone who is a safety be top of the league in tackles is remarkable. This is a position that is dominated by middle linebackers, which makes sense because middle linebackers are all over the field and tasked with so many different responsibilities. All these players on the list are middle linebackers, and Budda Baker sitting there at the top of the list. I'll give Nick Cross for the Colts credit too. He's also way up there, but Budda, they're the only 2 safeties in the top 18 on this list.
Right.
It's remarkable to be at 100 tackles 10 games into the season.
And you remember what I said last week? I mean, people are saying, not a premier position. Budda's our starting safety, and he's one of our middle linebackers. Let's just face it. Who makes more tackles in the middle of the field? I mean, where he is dominant. I mean, he's designated tackler, and he's really good in coverage on the second level. And now we got a couple guys back on the back end, like not only the Rabbit, but what's great on the back end is Garrett Williams. He is terrific. I saw that on his tape at Syracuse. I was like, ooh. So excited to see that. And now we got 2 guys back there. And another guy who hasn't played much this year, who's pretty good at it too, is Joey Blount. I mean, he had the ceiling interception in the end zone against the Eagles last year. So we got depth there now, and we got playmaking ability there now. Jalen Thompson is better in the box. We've all known that. And, when he plays, he's really good there. So they got depth there. They can work it out. But in passing situations, you want someone in center field who can make the right reads and react on a dime and instinctively. We got 2 guys in there right now with Taylor-Demerson and with Garrett Williams that can get it done. And notice how the Cardinals didn't give up any big plays yesterday, passing plays. A lot of that had to do on the back end with their coverage over the top, the help over the top. As a matter of fact, if we can go now back to the stats, what was Aaron Rodgers' longest pass yesterday? I mean, this is huge. Remember last year getting burned over the top, left and right? First play of the Giants game in the second half, the kid Hyatt goes for, like a 78-yard touchdown bomb.
The longest completion of the day would be 15 yards to Breece Hall.
To the running back, right?
Yep, the longest completion to a receiver, 14 yards to Davante Adams, which made up 14 of his 31 passing yards for the entire game.
Right. I mean, that's getting it done.
With a QBR, I mean, the rating is bad, but a QBR of 23.8 is telling you that that was a really strugglesome game for Aaron Rodgers. And
yep. If someone told you that before the game, Aaron Rodgers is going to have a QBR of 23.8, you'd have been like, what? Wait, what? I mean,
I don't know. He's had a couple of those games this year. It's been, he looks like a 40-year-old with a torn Achilles, coming off a torn Achilles at times this year, but 23.8 is, I'm going to guess, one of the four worst performances of any quarterback this week.
Well, to put a capper on it, this is the way you demoralize Aaron Rodgers. You get your offense out to a huge lead, and your offense clicking left and right, where you put the ultimate pressure on him to try to respond. And then you tighten down on him in the red zone, which the Cardinals did really well. And, how about that Taylor-Demerson deflection of Adams at the goalpost? Now, that was a ball he could have intercepted. And I think next time he's in that position, he probably does intercept. But that's a deflection that was huge. Now, it was only minor, but, he got his hands up in the way of Adams's vision and, made the play. Those are big plays. And
but that's part of the rating too, because QBR takes into account interceptable passes as well. Even if you don't have an interception recorded, it takes into account passes that were interceptable. And I haven't looked at the numbers, but I'm going to assume it's probably somewhere between 2 and 3 interceptable passes thrown by Rodgers.
And, I mean, the fact that they're there to make those plays is so encouraging. And that wasn't a wide open TD that we saw repeatedly in year one and in the first few weeks or several weeks this year, including the Miami game, which was agonizing to watch for three quarters defensively. But you know what? Be interesting to see tonight the Dolphins against the Rams. And see, I was so bummed that the Bucks didn't score that touchdown at the end after Baker Mayfield made one of the greatest plays I've ever seen, holding off Bosa on a key fourth down, throwing for the first down. That was awesome. They left too much time left. Dang it all, and kicked a field goal instead. Otherwise, but the Cardinals are going to have to earn their keep regardless. I just want to see them focus on what they're doing. And what I loved was hearing Kyler Murray say after the game that we're not satisfied, we're not looking ahead, and I'm going to spend the bye week thinking about football and doing football related things. And I think a lot of my teammates will be doing the same. That is, see, this is how invested these players are. Now, I wouldn't blame them if they took their families to the beach for a week, somewhere or whatever. But you can do that and still go through what they call the process and to think about, what's their next, next item to take care of on their to-do list to get themselves prepared and ready to come back from the bye. And and what they'll need to do that week to prepare for the Seahawks. So it's just been so exciting, and I think right now you'd have to say they're ahead of schedule. Even though I think it was great to hear Kyler say we could have done better than this. So I think that it's just showed the kind of maturity that even with a young team, they're beginning to show, and the attention to execution. And like they said, going through the process on a daily basis. That's all James Conner talks about, is we're just going through the process. And he's so on board with all this. And he deflected yesterday in his interview that the crew threw at him with that Jonathan Gannon says that if he has to miss a game, he wants you as head coach. And Connor handled it really well. He could have, he just sort of was matter of fact about it, and okay, well, if called upon, maybe I would. So it's just such respect. And here's my last point, and then before turning over to Little Rock for his last point. Here's what's happening here, and it's becoming clear. A lot of give and take conversations between the Cardinals coaches and the players about getting themselves on the same page is really paying off now. I think that Budda's involvement in the defense and having the regular meetings with the coaches there has paid dividends. And amongst other players, but I think Budda in particular, I think James Conner in the offensive meetings, and and Kyler especially with the kind of meetings that he's having individually, like Marvin Harrison Jr. 2 weeks ago, when he said, "Look, we're going to get you out of this. What are your favorite plays?" And of course, he had the huge day in Miami. The kind of communication that's going on is the process that they're talking about, and it's working. It's working, and it's really exciting to see, and can't wait for the next game. It's just this there's this anticipation now, and how sweet it would be to get back at the Seahawks for years. I'm just dreaming I'm dreaming of seeing Tyler Lockett covered for once. And DK Metcalf, sticky coverage on him, and Noah Fant, and Jigba, Smith and Jigba. I mean, he's having a good year. We're gonna have to cover people in that game, so that excites me. It excites me. We have the people, and now the coaching is coordinating this really well with the players, and 6-4. 2-0 in our division and hitting the bye. Let's keep our eyes on football, because Kyle and I will be back next week. We're not taking a week off, and we'll be talking up. We've got a couple guys. I got a couple guys in mind for as a guest next week, so you can probably count on that. Dan Bickley has said he's going to come on the show at some point. Maybe Bick makes his call with us next week. But there are some other people too I'm really excited to have on, or repeat guys that, like our film analyst Marcos Labrada, who we always love have on. So we're going to have a guest next week, some port of some measure. So stay tuned. Kyle, your closing thoughts.
Well, I'll start off with this, and the people at home can play along as well. I've got a quiz question for you guys. How many defensive drives have gone by since the last time the Cardinals allowed a touchdown? How many drives has the Cardinals defense gone without allowing a touchdown?
At home?
Just period, across the board.
Okay, so we'd have to go back to the Miami game.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got?
19.
Wow.
19 consecutive drives without a touchdown, which if you would have
Oh,
told me
out
that
of the
3 weeks ago, I wouldn't have believed it. They've
day.
they've gone they've gone 19 drive 18, not including the kneel down to end a half, but minus that, 18 drives, 5 field goals, 0 touchdowns, I believe 3 takeaways. It's been absolutely remarkable how much improvement the Cardinals defense has shown. Like I said earlier, despite the fact that Gardeck, who's a leader on the defense, goes down. Bilal
Right,
Nichols goes down. Obviously, they don't get Darius Robinson back when they expected.
right,
Ojalare's been gone the whole season. Despite Sean Murphy Bunting went out for 4 weeks. Despite all of that, defense has just seen remarkable improvements. Names that we weren't expecting to get production from, like Lucetta and Dimakije. Xavier
right,
Thomas is picking up steam. The Rabbit, young guys having impacts is exactly what all of this was about. And I'd been saying the same thing since early on in the season, which is this is about the time you're going to start to see results. It usually takes about 20 games with roster turnover and all that stuff. This is about the time that you're going to start seeing the results. And this is the exact time that in Man Campbell's turnaround with the Lions, if you remember, they went 3-18-1 to
right.
start Dan Campbell's career. And it was at this exact point that they ran off 8 out of 9 wins in a row. They obviously didn't make the playoffs the last week of the season, which Cardinals are in the playoffs right now. And if the Vikings lose next week, they would be in a wild card position no matter what. So, this is the exact time in the Lions rebuild that they started taking off and showing those results, and you're seeing it happen for the Cardinals right now. They've turned over 75% of the roster. They're playing a lot of young players on the defense, but they've played enough snaps together and gotten enough practice repetitions over nearly 2 years now that you're starting to see those results bear fruit. And I mean, the offense is just clicking left and right, which they've been excellent all year. Like we said, the Cardinals have been a top half offense all season. I believe they're ranked 11th in offensive DVOA right now, which is an improvement from where they were at the beginning of the win streak. But the offense has been consistently very good all season. And
Yes,
so
it
you're
has.
seeing them
Yep.
stay in stride and keep their stride. And just seeing that defense improve is just doing wonders, because each of the first three, or what is it, 3 of the first 4 wins were all on last second game winning field goals. And now we're turning that corner to blow out the Chicago Bears, blow out the New York Jets. That's where you're seeing the signs of turning a corner. And sure, that streak might not continue, but 19 consecutive drives without allowing a touchdown is, I'm going to guess, probably the longest in the NFL right now. And that's
Yeah.
something to hang your hat on, especially going into a 3 week stretch after the bye where you've got Seahawks, Vikings, and Seahawks, which are the teams that you're going to be battling with for that last playoff spot in the NFC, assuming they don't win the division. They might end up running the table and winning the division anyways, but if it
Well,
comes down to wild card, Vikings, Seahawks, those are the teams that you're going to be battling it out for those sixth and seventh playoff spots. So defense
yep.
has just been remarkable across the board, and I'm excited to see what happens next. But we got to wait 2 weeks. We got to wait 2 weeks to see what happens next, though.
Yep. Yeah. Good summary. And very excited. Really excited. It's so great to play meaningful football. And once again, and to, have a horse in the race, as they say. So, with that, I want to thank all of you for your continued support, and for all your cheering for these Cardinals. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe the Cardinals, this year's Cardinals, might be putting pressure on season ticket holders to actually hold on to their tickets for must see games. But it's so great to see them turn things around at home, and the sweet cooking at State Farm Stadium. And boy, place has been rocking, and people are getting real excited. So until next time, may the red rain shower down on you into the red sea. Red rain.